Welcome to Friends with Fertility, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of fertility, reproductive health, and all the emotional journeys that are in between. I'm your host, Elizabeth King, a fertility expert dedicated to providing you with the knowledge, support, and inspiration you need on your path to parenthood. Whether you're just starting out, exploring your options, or looking for solidarity and advice, we are here for you. Let's embark on this journey together and turn uncertainty into empowerment and make friends with fertility. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to Friends with Fertility. Today we are going to have a conversation on surrogacy, which we have had a couple conversations around this recently, and I think it's important because it is becoming more and more normalized in our society, which is great. So welcome, Julie and Nicole.
Thank you. So great to be here, Elizabeth.
They started Abundant Beginning over 11 years ago. Can you tell us your story and how this came to be?
I'll start and then Nicole, you can jump in. So we started 11 years ago, our agency. And before that, Nicole and I had both worked for fertility doctors. And for me, we got this back inside look at what a practice is like that does third party work. And so when the opportunity was presented to us to start an agency, we jumped on it. We weren't quite sure how it was going to go, and we've just taken off and really truly haven't stopped. And for me personally, I have a background in education and also in psychology. I'm a mom of three, and truly the most important thing in the world to me is my family. So to help people create families and then to be able to do it in our own way, taking everything that we learned and bringing it forward into our own agency has just been fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for having us today. First and foremost, surrogacy. It's such a world that, as you know, a woman, we don't grow up thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get a surrogate when I get older." And I sort of fell into this line of work by obviously struggling to have my own kids, and I was working in the entertainment business, and at the time struggling to get pregnant, and went through my own personal journey. And after a number of years of trying, I ended up having two amazing surrogates who carried my kids. And after my experience, I wanted more. I wanted more for my own personal journey. I wanted support. I felt extremely lonely and isolated. And infertility is so lonely to begin with. And then when you have to go down this road, it's scary and it's intimidating. And so I wanted to offer clients that support and just to be there. So left the entertainment industry, started working for some doctors that had this in-house surrogacy agency. And then, as Julie said, back in 2013, we started Abundant Beginnings with their blessing, and it has been amazing ever since to be able to help people in this capacity from a personal space as well as being in the business for so long now from the professional standpoint as well.
Which is so fantastic because I think for myself on the patient side, way back when, having somebody to understand the whole big picture of what you're going through from the financial perspective, the emotional perspective, like you said, you never think this is going to be your life, that you're even sitting in this waiting room, having this conversation, et cetera. And I think when we can relate to others in that way and say, it may not be your exact story of what you're going through, but I do understand what it's like to be in that position, faced with something that you didn't think that you were going to be in order to build your family, which is such a beautiful thing and such a scary thing when you have this idea that maybe it won't happen for you. And what are the options that could be for you? And then that big elephant in the room, which is wrapping your head around what that would look like if it's going to be an egg donor, a sperm donor, a surrogate, etc. The next step of never thinking that is your story, right? So how do you, if somebody comes to you, obviously they've been down the road enough to know that's their next step. Are you finding that at that point they are still trying to get their head around it, or they're like, 100% in. Let's get this done. I want to find my surrogate tomorrow and let's make it happen.
It's so fascinating, and, there are some that come to us that have not wrapped their head around it. Of course, if it's a gay couple, yes, they've known, yeah, we need a surrogate, they're ready to go. They've educated themselves, on the process and they wanna start. With other couples, though, some, yes, absolutely, and some no, and it's always Julie and I do a really good job just listening to their story, listening to their journey, what they've been through. We've been doing this a long time. And so it's listening and making sure, okay, what would their best next steps be? Is it, sometimes they'll say, oh, we just want to try a little bit longer. We need to try on ourselves first, but we need a backup plan. And then others have already been through that and they're ready to go. And for us, we get excited because they're on their next chapter. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter how this baby comes into this world, whether it's our own biology, a surrogate, whatever it is, it's that end result. So of course we get excited to help them with that next chapter. But it is fascinating to see.
It's not uncommon for someone to reach out. We have a lovely conversation, and then we don't hear from them for a year. And then they come back and they say, okay, we're ready now. And we always tell, again, we don't put pressure on anyone. When you're ready, let us know. And we respect everybody in their timing. Really, this is something we do offer services. We have therapists that people can talk to. We have a lot of support along the way. And until someone is really ready to move into surrogacy, we don't push that. So
Right. And what would make somebody who is the perfect candidate to go, first of all, down the surrogacy path and then also to come to your abundant beginnings?
on the surrogacy side, women come to us for a lot of different reasons. I think one of the myths is that they get paid a lot of money, and so they're coming because this is a way that they can make quick money, which is absolutely not true. It's just not quick money. This takes a lot of effort on their part. And what we've seen over the years is that often women who look into becoming surrogates love being pregnant. They had easy pregnancies. They've experienced someone in their lives who has had fertility issues. We were just talking with someone today who was so lovely, who said she did a research project in high school about surrogacy. She's currently working as a nurse, and she's had a child of her own, and now she's ready to start the journey. And so again, people come to us from all different walks of life and really want to help. They're helpers.
Are you seeing it become more popular as it is becoming more of a normalized conversation than it was 10 years ago, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, for surrogates, as far as who can be a surrogate, obviously it's such a limited group of women who can do this just because there are so many medical things that go into it and not a lot of women qualify, and obviously a lot of women mentally don't think they could do this, or they just the qualifications are so strict. As far as intended parents go, it is more common, but the issue is financially that it's so expensive, and it's gotten more expensive over the years that it is harder for a lot to pursue this. And so some are looking to do independent journeys, which means that they're not using an agency to allow for that support because they can um, do it a little bit more cost efficiently. But bottom line is surrogacy is expensive no matter how you look at it, independent or not. It's just an expensive journey. So it's become a little bit more mainstream, but it's still.
I think that that's the part where you want to do this, you think maybe you would be a good candidate to have a surrogate carry your baby, but then people are just paralyzed by the financial aspect of how do they get their head around doing this and what does that look like? And thank goodness we have so many options now for loans and other aspects to help with that, but at the same time it still is of all the type of ART and fertility situations, surrogacy is definitely the most expensive way to go. When you mentioned the independent versus agency. Can you tell us a little bit of the advantages of working with an agency versus independent?
Again, Nicole and I have a lot of experience. We've been doing this for well over 16 years, and watching the industry change, we have formed all kinds of relationships with people who believe in the same things that we believe, who we know will take really good care of clients. So for us, an agency is going to provide experience. We bring all of that knowledge with us. We know how to interact with people. The surrogates themselves, if they're doing an independent journey, often have to be the ones that are discussing money with intended parents. Whereas if they're working with an agency, we're the ones who intervene. We're the ones who are talking about insurance, all the financial aspects of surrogacy, along with the insurance. We're making sure all the payments are done on time. Again, we're not saying people shouldn't go independently. If they can use an agency, we know who makes a good surrogate. We know who's going to be capable, and we have all the resources that go along with that.
I also feel like you don't know what you don't know until you've gone down the path. And so having an agency to help guide you down that path to get you there faster is also and usually more less expensive because you're avoiding certain mistakes because they know, oh, don't do that or go to this attorney or you need this or that in place or whatnot. That I think it's just one of those things that you want to put your money and invest in things that matter. And this is one of those things that matters because there are so many gray areas, so to speak, of this kind of still being uncharted territory in a lot of ways even though there are a lot of agencies, but at the same time, now I feel like because the industry is growing, you need to really vet out the agencies and the independents and everything in between and being able to build that relationship with the agency just like you have with your fertility clinic and really feeling like they are part of your family and helping you to build your family.
And this is such a vulnerable thing. Intended parents come into this so scared and trusting. And there is a lot of agencies out there. So it's just making sure that you have a trusted partner. And if you are doing it independent, there are agencies out there that will still help um, guide and support in a different capacity. Something that our agency does, where again, if you can't afford a full blown agency fee, we're still there to support in just a different capacity. So we always hope that, yeah, you might need to do an independent journey if you can't afford every aspect of it, but that support is still there with various agencies, which is so important because, like you said, you can start going down this hole and spending more money than you anticipated to, even if you were attempting an independent journey.
Right. As much as we would like to think Google has all the answers, a lot of
Exactly.
times they don't. And especially those big things of like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to fill that out or do this or that. Right. So, what have you guys seen that has changed the most over the last 10 years in surrogacy?
One thing for sure is the genetic testing of the embryos. And so when I first started, many years ago, there was no genetic testing, and they did transfer more than one embryo, which at this point, most of the time the clinics will prefer to transfer only one embryo. Some take a pretty solid stance that they will only transfer one embryo. They don't want to risk a multiples pregnancy. So that's one major thing that has changed for sure.
Mhm. I get a lot of clients even still really wanting more than one in hopes that one will stick and one won't, and they're get quite frustrated with the clinics because they're not doing it. And I have two clients actually that ended up having triplets because um, one split. So you don't really see it too often anymore, and I definitely can see why.
You don't. And I think, when you go through this, though, even for myself, it's like you just want babies. So I remember, 15 years ago, we transferred two because that's what we were fine. And you don't think about the risk of preterm or all those risks that are involved with twins. You want babies. And then some come into this wanting a surrogate and only can afford it once. Let's put two in. And some surrogates are fine with putting two. I would say 90, I don't even know, it's really high. 95% aren't though. And for us as an agency, we prefer just transferring one with the outcome of a healthy, easy pregnancy.
Another thing that has changed is that there are a lot more agencies, and there are also a lot more fertility doctors. There are a lot more reproductive endocrinologists, and there's more infertility. And so what we're seeing is that some of the larger agencies and the clinics are being bought by financial investing investment companies, and that sort of changes the feel of the industry, I guess you would say. So Nicole and I, we own Abundant Beginnings, we run Abundant Beginnings, and we present a really personal and personalized experience. This is such an intimate journey, and so our clients and our surrogates can always reach us, right? They can reach one of us. We don't like to advertise it, but it's sort of a 24/7 business. Pregnancy and making babies doesn't really stop. And so they have access to us. Again, I don't know how other agencies really run. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that when we speak with them, they're our clients, and we're there and we're going to watch everything that's happening and take good care of them.
Right. That's how I run my coaching as well because, it's not like a therapy session that every Tuesday at 2 you're okay to talk to somebody. Something could happen Monday at 1 and you're melting down because you just got lab results or something and you don't know what that means. And I think it's so important to have access to get the answers that you need before you spiral in whatever direction might happen because that helps the results, right? If my patients and clients get their nervous system out of whack because they saw a blood lab come back that they're not sure about, that's going to affect everything to help them get regulated again for however long. So I think it really helps the success of the outcome in many ways, but that's really good to know that you guys have such personal relationships with these people, because I do think that right now there are so many clinics that are getting purchased. I remember when my clinic got purchased, and even over the time I was there, seeing how the clientele changed, how their rules and regulations changed, and everything. And I had been with this doctor for many, many years. And it was so different, and I was happy for him to be able to move on and get to a place where he was semi-retired, but at the same time, it just didn't feel good from the patient perspective, and you could really see the difference. And now when you call, you know, it's press 1 for this, press 2 for that, as opposed to somebody actually picking up the phone to speak with you. And this experience is like nothing anyone ever expects. We've all heard of other people getting sick or having heart attacks or having cancer or whatever, but nobody really has talked about the fertility journey in a way that, oh, I can call Susie Q, or, my friend Nicole has a sister or a cousin that's been through this. You can talk to them about. It's now, I think, becoming a more mainstream conversation, but even still, it's not as familiar for people when they start to go down the road. So I think the personalized care is so, so important. What is your advice for choosing a surrogacy agency for somebody who's just starting down this road?
I think the most important thing is speaking with a few. Don't, if you have a recommendation from your doctor or friend who's used an agency, of course, that's going to add some extra comfort. Setting up a call with them, getting a feel for what their personality is. How do they run their agency? How long have they been in the business? How do they find their surrogates? What's their wait time? Do they have a financial obligation to present profiles? We find some agencies do and some agencies don't. For Julie and I, our biggest thing is not charging a fee unless we have a surrogate for a client. We do not want to take anybody's money if we don't have a surrogate to help them. And that's something that's really important to us. And there's trust. Sometimes you just, when finding an agency, you have to go with your gut and what feels like a right fit for you. We might not be the right fit for everybody. Some want that big corporate feel, and that's absolutely fine. And we are not that, and we won't ever be that. We want to offer that very intimate, personalized experience, to provide a very safe space for people to ask questions and know that there's going to be a person on the other end of that phone call every time, or that text, whatever it is, with quick communication and just being that good support team. So I think those are the most important things when trying to figure out the agency and what direction you want to go in.
And also, just like the fertility clinics, they are your family. They are your, as I call, your fertility team, and you want to make sure that you do feel really good about that them and feeling comfortable advocating for yourself with them, with your doctors and everybody who's involved. Can you give us a brief overview of what the process looks like? Because you're mentioning some things in that list of finding a surrogacy agency. What is the process for people who don't know about going down the road of using a surrogate? So you're in your doctor's office and they say, okay, you're not able to carry a baby, or you need, or perhaps you already know if you're in a same sex marriage that this is going to happen. What happens next if you're told, okay, you're not able to carry yourself?
So typically people would reach out to us. Again, their doctors might refer to us. Most of our clients come through referrals, and we work with clinics all over the country, actually, and in Canada as well. And so they would reach out. Like, let's say the clinic gives them a list of three, call all three of them. So for us, it would be reaching out to us, whether it's going onto our website and applying. We have a intended parent application, which is just a few short questions with some contact information. And then Nicole and I reach out to them. We try to reach out to anyone who either calls us or emails us, reaches us in some way within 24 hours. And we set up a call. We spend 45 minutes on the phone or on a Zoom call with them to really get their questions answered. And for us also to get to know them and what they're looking for. And we kind of go down the next steps with them. We talk with them about what they're hoping for in the relationship with the surrogate, any specific criteria that they have. And we make a list of that. And then Nicole and I talk, we keep a running list ourselves of what surrogates we have who are currently available, who's coming in, who we're interviewing and still vetting. And we start to talk about who our clients are and what they're looking for, because we want to make that personality match as well as, of course, they're all healthy and have to pass the ASRM guidelines. And with the intended parents, if they're ready, then we'll start sharing profiles with them. We also ask them to complete a profile, and we have a system that they can just go in and fill it out, include some photos, talk about their fertility journey, talk about the fact that they've always wanted to be parents, who supports them in their lives, their hopes and dreams, basically for their family. And for us, our surrogates have to choose the intended parents as well. So we give our surrogates a choice as to who they want to help. So that's kind of the beginning part of the process.
And it's from, having a conversation with an agency, the matching process. Some clients come into this, like we talked about at the beginning of the call, some come in just ready. They want a surrogate. Any surrogate we present to them has all the important qualities to be a surrogate, but some intended parents are more particular on location, or they want a stay at home mom, or they want somebody who's within an hour from them. So everybody comes into this with different idea of what they want in their surrogate. So matching can sometimes with our agency take a few weeks. Sometimes it can take a few months. It just depends again on what you're specifically looking for in that surrogate. Um, and it's so we love matching. It's matching personalities. It's matching expectations. What does everyone want in this journey, and making sure that we're matching appropriately. But yeah, for the journey, speak with an agency, match with a surrogate, doing a medical evaluation on the surrogate, you're doing legal, and then a surrogate hopefully will start medication. That process, though, once you are matched, it's about a 3 to 5 month process to get to a transfer. So there are many steps involved. Once you decide, oh, you need a surrogate, it's like, okay, hold on, now what?
Right. And
So it's
depending if you have embryos, right? Some people, that's another aspect that they're having trouble with. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, and most agencies, or maybe not most, but for us at least, we always creating embryos is the hardest part. And we always say that finding a surrogate, easy. Creating embryos, that's the challenging part. So we always recommend for clients before looking for a surrogate, have embryos ready to go. We don't want to waste anybody's money finding a surrogate if you don't have embryos. So most of our clients come to us with the frozen embryos prior to looking for a surrogate.
And I also just want to mention that if your clinic is saying, here's 3 options for agencies, you don't have to stay with those agencies. You are free to go anywhere you want. And that's just a starting point usually that they give you information so you know where to start. But if you are listening to this or you have heard of this before, know that you have the free will, so to speak, to go to any agency that you want and work with anybody you want that is outside of your clinic. Is there any final advice that you would give for intended parents that are looking to go down this path?
Well, we always approach this one step at a time. So it can be really overwhelming, right? When you look at the big picture, like Nicole and I, if someone reaches out to us, we send them a cost guide, and here are the different costs that are associated with surrogacy, and that can be really overwhelming. Happy to answer questions at any point about any of those, and then we say one step at a time, one step at a time, and they find someone that they like. It's really, let's lean into it and see. There's a lot of checks and balances along the way before they actually, like Nicole said, have that embryo transfer 5 months later. So I think the advice is to make sure, if they're in a partnership, make sure they're on the same page. If they really feel like they want some emotional support, are they talking to a counselor? Are they talking to someone, friends who've been through this, a sister, family members, their doctor, someone at their clinic who can really support them along the way? And Nicole and I are here also. Your agency should be there also to provide that kind of support for you. And again, we just take it step by step by step.
Which is so the way that it should be, because it is so overwhelming, and I think most people go into whether it's IVF or surrogacy or whatever thinking, "I got this," and then all of a sudden somewhere along the line you're like, "Oh shoot, I don't got this." This is way more than I expected, and I'm emailing my nurse a million times a day trying to get, questions answered, etcetera, and again, just having somebody to help you through your own journey, and I know for me, it really is priceless to know, okay, somebody's been through it before. There's hope for me. And what we are all looking for in this path is that there's hope. And this conversation, I hope, does give that to somebody so that they know that it is possible to build their families in many different ways. And we're so lucky to live in a world that this is even possible.
Absolutely agree.
And speaking of that, Nicole, if you could just talk for a minute or so about being a mom who didn't carry her own children. What is that like now that it's in the rearview mirror? Is that something, I mean, obviously you do this for a living, so it's something that you think about often, but at the same time, in looking at your children on a day-to-day basis, what is that like? I'm assuming it's not, you don't think about it from that perspective, but if you could share a little bit about that.
I think, honestly, it's amazing. And again, this is not a path I thought I would go down, but I feel so blessed to have had the chance to go down this path and help people in this way. And now that my kids are older, obviously I talk about this on a daily basis because they hear my calls. And what's so amazing is they actually, one of my daughters wrote a blog about not being carried by me. And she, I think the biggest thing is it's not a big deal for them. They have known their story since day one, and whenever I say, like, "Do you feel different?" And they're like, "Oh, mom, like, we could care less. Like, we don't care." And it's just their story and it's special. And to them, I always get to say, like, for mommy, like, I get to watch you can't come out. I get to, pull you out. And not a lot of moms get to say that. And that's your special story. So for them, it's no different and it's amazing. And it's such a special journey, and we always just have to focus on the end result, and it's about a baby and having a baby in our arms, not who carried it, not biology. So just keep focusing on that is always the biggest important thing.
Sometimes intended parents want to know how they're going to feel like when the baby is born. And the surrogates are like, will they stay in touch with me? Will I get to see pictures? And most of the time, people will say, we don't know how we're going to feel. We don't know what it will feel like once the baby comes. We don't know if we'll want to stay in touch. And we
Which
explain
is
that to
true
the
even when
surrogates
you
as well.
carry your own, right?
Yeah,
True.
You don't know what you're gonna know until they get there. And
it's
even
very
still,
true.
you're like, "Oh my
Exactly.
god, what's happening?"
Right. So it's really managing the expectations and going into this, just being open.
Right. Well, thank you both for being here. Thank you, Nicole, for sharing that because again, I think it's important for people who are looking into this to hear those stories, see the pictures and see the dynamic of what it looks like on the other side of it and knowing that it is going to be okay and it's just a matter of getting to that other side and how in whatever way that looks. So, where can everyone find you both?
Sure. Our website is abcsurrogacy.com, and you can find us there. We have a phone number there, our email, um, info at abcsurrogacy.com. People are welcome to reach out to us. And again, we respond usually within 24 hours or less, and happy to set up free consultations just to get your questions answered. We love talking about what we do, and we love sharing this with others.
And I think that education about just getting those answers so you can make a decision that is based on speaking to somebody and really knowing where does that money go? Here's the breakdown of that, et cetera. Because in our minds, we make it up to be something that it may not be. And once we can get the actual data and educate ourselves, then we're able to make better decisions and faster decisions going forward.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again for being here. I can't wait
Thank
for our
you.
paths to cross again soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you so much.
opportunity.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Friends with Fertility. We hope that you found the stories, insights, and tips as inspiring and informative as we did. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. Your friends with fertility are here for you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and more fertility resources. Until next time, stay hopeful and keep believing in your journey, and know that we are sending you lots of love.